Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Inside the Coverage, the Week 18 edition, the final game of the 2025 regular season, one that produced a lot of drama at the end, and then in the ensuing 24 to 36 hours or what have you, when Steve Bisciotti announced the firing of John Harbaugh. We do have, I think, 4 or 5 plays queued up here to talk about and display, but we're obviously going to talk about the Harbaugh issue, the firing, and where the Ravens might go forward here at the beginning, right at the outset. How surprised were you, EA? I know you said you were busy
Yeah,
when it was announced, right?
yeah, yep, a little bit. I mean, probably like you, everybody I know started texting at a certain point or getting a hold of me to talk about it, but there was no details. It was sort of like they got rid of Harbaugh. That was what so still the details are just kind of trickling out. I was a little surprised. I thought they were going to go with Munkin as the cut, and they might keep Zach Orr, but they were going to keep Harbaugh. That's what I felt. But
Yeah.
um, the story that came out last night and it's coming out this morning has to do with Harbaugh. Um, Seems like the main reason they shipped him off was that he stuck up for Todd Munkin, which neither one of us kind of buy.
No, I think I could absolutely see it being a front or deflection to push the narrative over here in one direction in a way that possibly saves face for John Harbaugh a little bit. Oh, we would have kept him if he would have agreed to fire or let go
Yeah.
Todd Munkin. And, I don't pretend to know, obviously, all the ins and outs and the ways things get done in those meeting rooms or boardrooms. And frankly, I don't care. I just know that the product on the field wasn't good enough for 2 years on one side of the ball. And that's unfortunately the one that you and I have chosen to focus on this year. We picked a bad year, brother. But
It's always
Todd
next year.
Munkin, on the other side, had a historic 2024. And, so I think it's difficult to believe.
Yeah.
So many NFL reporters are running with the story and talking about it. Hey, man, they did the same thing 7 to 10 days ago when Mike Preston put out a BS story about Lamar Jackson, an opinion column.
Mm-hmm.
And the national media took off and ran with it. And nobody in the Ravens fan base believed that, nor should they, right? So it's not too far-fetched to think that it happened again. But who knows? It really doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. Yeah, this was building. I'm sure this was building with Bisciotti for a long time. I don't think outside of a deep run or even a Super Bowl win that Harbaugh was now, given what we know, that Harbaugh was going to keep his job. I think a lot of it has to do with fan base, and I think this story is, like you said, to give Harbaugh a little bit more of an out, and he's going to do well. If he wants to coach, he'll coach.
Yeah, he, I wonder. Initially Monday, we all were like, okay, nothing's happening. You see all these other announcements, Pete Carroll, et cetera. I think Atlanta fired their coach Sunday night, didn't they?
They did.
And other teams had fired their coach during the season, like the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of us were like, okay, nothing's going to happen. It seems to me, my perception, my read is that Bisciotti, maybe Eric DeCosta and Ozzie Newsome are involved to some degree. Maybe they're in the room at the time. Gave Harbaugh some a list, a checklist. Here's some things that you've got to agree. If you want to be here in 2026 as the head coach, then these things have to occur, meaning these people have to be gone, whatever the other requirements were. And my suspicion is that Harbaugh was vacillating on some of them or trying to negotiate impossibly. And, Bisciotti at some point said, I've had enough. This is it. Hey, the story is that it's Todd Munkin. I think it was probably the other side of the ball. I think Harbaugh's probably going to stand up and defend Zach Orr. The Lamar issue, how much was Lamar involved? I hope he was. I hope he was. Ultimately, he's going to be the guy, Lamar, that takes the brunt criticism, evaluation for this era. moving on with the next coach. So I hope he had something to say about it. I would guess that Lamar was classy, like we've always seen him, even dating back to 2018 in the draft. I don't think he was subversive or negative at all. But that's just, maybe I'm naive there.
I think it's going to be a tricky. I mean, it always is a tricky replacement or hiring to find the right head coach. But you have to find somebody that's going to marry up with Lamar, because Lamar is the guy. I mean, he really is at this point. To me, it wasn't Harbaugh's team; it was Lamar's team.
Absolutely.
So that doesn't mean it has to stay that way with the new coach, but to me, that leans the Ravens towards hiring somebody that's more of a defensive coach, and then just getting a coordinator that they feel really aligns with Lamar. And it's still Lamar's team, it's still Lamar's offense, but getting a defensive head coach would, I think, make the most sense as it relates to that marriage between Lamar and the new head coach.
Yeah, I like somebody in a comment yesterday on a Lamar video that I put out about the Steelers game, like an actual film study video, said we shouldn't build upon Lamar, even though he is the foundation. We should build to him. And I was like, I kind of like that, meaning whatever we do from a roster configuration standpoint, let's build to him. I don't want to say make the game easier for him, but I've long had the opinion, if you've listened to my channel at all, not you, but the people that are listening / watching now, the offensive line is, for me, it's got to be it's got to be one of the first things that's talked about for any potential candidate to come in. Who's going to be your offensive line coach?
Mm-hmm.
What's his strategy? What's his structure? Focus, I guess. And, how could you improve the personnel and the product we put out there? Because I talked about this last night in my reaction to the Harbaugh news. Everything else being the same this year in 2025. Everything. Injuries, Zach Orr's performance, some of the performances on the field that we saw from big name guys. Matabike injured, out for a long time. Roquan, Marlon, etc. All of those things being the same. If we had a top 5 offensive line this season, I think we score 30 points a game.
Sure. I agree.
I mean, even if Lamar misses time.
Right. I think they also the marriage head coach component to DaCosta. That's a big deal too, because DaCosta and Harbaugh are lockstep. So you may be asking, DaCosta's still in charge, but he may be on notice a little bit. He's going to have to align with the philosophy of a head coach to a certain extent, and that may change how he's been approaching it.
Yeah. We're shifted. We'll alter it.
He has not pulled the trigger on a guard, for example, or early. And if he's the guy, I'm assuming DaCosta's the guy, he still gets the opportunity to pick who it is that he wants. It just depends on if he's philosophically the same going forward.
Right,
I have to assume if Bisciotti's going to get rid of Harbaugh, then I would say DaCosta is on notice at least.
Yeah. I mean, I think the guy that obviously Steve Bisciotti would trust over anyone would be Ozzie Newsome.
Yeah.
Clearly, and deservedly so, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eric DaCosta, probably a close cousin there, because he's been around so long. But what we have done from an organizational standpoint, planning, overarching plan, hasn't been good enough post 2023. Even the 2023 draft, to be honest, I feel like you have a similar draft 3 years in a row, generally, which is, it's pretty strong. First 2 rounds. And then we kind of go off the rails a little bit and don't address needs at all, in my opinion. So, I mean, you guys that are listening and watching, you didn't sign up for this necessarily, but EA and I kind of feel like it's got to be talked about or discussed if we're going to put some content out on January 7th. Is Is it today that's actually Lamar's birthday, or was that yesterday?
It's this week. I want to say it's the 9th, but I could be off. He's
Okay.
29. Yeah, he's 29.
Yeah. For some
He'll
reason,
be
I thought I
close.
saw the
He'll be
7th.
closer to 30 than 29 once we kick off.
Yeah. Yep. And to me, the clock is ticking there, but the clock is really ticking on Derrick Henry. We've gotten historic production from him in 2 years. A lot of people may not know this. If you go back and look at his consecutive seasons, 19 and 20, when Henry ran for 2,000 yards one of those years and 17 touchdowns, that 2-year stretch, he ran for 3,500 yards. And now here at age 30 and 31 in Baltimore, he's run for 3,500 yards.
Yeah.
So he's the same guy right now, but I don't think that we could expect Derrick Henry to continue to do this with a porous offensive line plan overall. I think, the comparison I made was Chicago and Ben Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben Johnson came in and immediately upgraded 3 positions. Maybe it was only 2. I may be confused about the center. I think the center's Dahlman. But I know he brought in Joe Thuney from the Chiefs, and Jonah Jackson, the right guard, who had been in Detroit with Ben Johnson before, and then he went to the Rams for a year. And Jonah Jackson played extremely well. Basically, my point is, in 1 year, a brand new head coach dramatically upgraded the offensive line before even coaching a game. Mm-hmm. And we had an 18-year head coach screw it up at least 2 years in a row.
Yeah. I mean, it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. The Fa'alele experiment or whatever, God bless the guy. I really don't, to me that bothers me when you see people kind of like cursing him and booing him as he's coming out of the tunnel and that kind of stuff. But he has no business being a starting guard. I mean, and that's really not his fault. He's doing the best he can.
Yeah.
But that's on Harbaugh. A lot of stuff. We could point to a lot of stuff that's on Harbaugh from this year. The running back being not dressing for 5 or 6 weeks. Yeah.
A guy who apparently we fielded calls for trade interest this year. Keaton Mitchell, right?
Keaton Mitchell. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, people I think maybe I'm misremembering or something, but when other teams see him not active, not have much of an impact early, hey, well, I'll throw you a 5th rounder. You seem to like 5th rounders, so you want another one?
Yeah, that's our round this year, right?
Yeah.
So, well, there's a lot of things that need filling. There's a lot of to me. There's a lot of players that personally I would just get off of if you can. Not being particularly well versed in salary cap and these kinds of things.
Right. Me neither.
Yeah, like Marlon, Roquan. Those are guys. If I had an opportunity to, if it made sense, I don't need to hold on to them. That was discouraging to me to see the Pittsburgh Steelers running outside zone in that second half and just mauling this defensive line that we just spent money on, and our line getting up on our linebackers and stuff.
I think we've got to allocate more resources to the offensive side. Resources meaning higher salaries, more high-profile players, and I don't mean just position players. I'm obviously talking about offensive line again. It's like I've said the word offensive line 2 million times in 2025, just as it relates to the Ravens. But also draft resources. You look at some of our drafts and you can say consistently, I think I can't remember who it was. He's a guy who commented on Ravens channel for a couple of years. Maybe it's Rob or something, but he said, look at your drafts for the Ravens on a yearly basis. The first 4 picks, you're almost always talking about 3 defensive guys. The first 5 picks, you're often talking about 3 defensive guys, if not 4, but you're hardly ever or rarely ever going to see 3 or 4 of the first 5 picks be an offensive guy. And if you do that 4 or 5 years in a row, just from sheer math standpoint, You've drafted more defensive guys than you have offensive guys. I think the allocation of resources globally has to change. So I'm comfortable with whoever the next head coach is. I have my own personal thoughts about their characteristics. I want a hard-nosed guy. I want somebody who's going to confront everyone, and I mean Lamar included. Not that Lamar needs to, in my opinion, but I mean someone who is going to say, okay, that's the big dog in the room, and we're going to hold him to a high standard. That's going to filter down to everybody else. That's just common sense in a work environment or anywhere else. So I don't want someone to come in and be a politician like John Harbaugh, publicly or privately.
That's a big part of, in my opinion, that's a big part of what happened. There are guys out there like that. Mike Vrabel would be an example, who's going to come in and nobody's going to question. And I think Harbaugh was that guy at one point, but there became something that's too familial in that clubhouse, locker room. And that goes for Zach Orr too, being youthful for his job. Too much buddy stuff. I don't like it. That could be just me. I like the coach to be a bit of authoritarian, to an extent. You're walking a line a little bit in the pro game, but yeah, there's guys out there like that.
Yeah, when you have a differential between the approaches, you're naturally going to open the door or create opportunities for certain players to gravitate over here and certain players to gravitate to that approach over there. And what I mean is kind of like you referred to, maybe a buddy approach from Orr or whoever, Harbaugh included, and this hardline confrontational approach that apparently Todd Monken has.
Yes.
Hey, good.
That's the kind of coach I like Monken for that. That's one of the reasons.
If you have 10 coaches on your staff, do you want 10 of them like Harbaugh and Zach Orr? If we can lump them together, this is a very stark or limiting question. Or do you want 10 of them like Todd Monken? If you had to choose, I think it's pretty obvious you need 10 like Todd Monken so that no one has a place to hide or run or initiate whispered conversations to on the practice field or in a meeting. Hey, I don't know why we're doing this. Why is he talking to that dude like that? Like, that's loser behavior. And I really don't care who had a problem with Todd Monken's abrasive approach, even if it was Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is going to succeed no matter who the coach is. It doesn't matter. I want someone that's going to hold everyone to a high standard, including himself. And that's where John Harbaugh failed in the last couple of years. Not accountable to himself with his choices, his overall planning, Zach Orr, the offensive line, etc. And I don't think Tyler Loop missing the kick, and I don't think John Harbaugh refusing to fire Todd Monken was the reason why he got fired. I think it was a pattern of decisions he made that failed and blew up in his face, and he could never move off of them because he was too proud to do so.
That's a good point. I do think that's a big part of it, and I think the cliche that the locker room lost the locker room, which is kind of vague, but I do think that it got away from him, not in the sense that people were openly rebellious, but because people got away with things. I think this team, because of the environment, this is just my speculation, created by John Harbaugh. I've got some favorites, I've got some non-favorites. The favorites can sort of get away with things, and I think once you allow people to get away with stuff, that the locker room can be lost, quote unquote.
They see it. Yeah, the players see it.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, well, I'm sorry, EA and anyone who watching, listening, that we went on so long, but kind of knew this was going to happen talking about it. At least we don't have to do it at the end, right?
Right.
You want to lead us off with a less fun conversation, the touchdown?
Sure. Yep.
Awuzie gives up. We're going to be all third downs here, right?
Yeah. Yep. Third down was a drag, to put it mildly.
I think I had planned to do a video on third downs last night, and I was finishing up my appointments, had the video prepped, and was just waiting for students to leave and be like, okay, I'm gonna record this and then head home. and all of a sudden the Ravens Discord just pops off. Like there's like it's like 380 messages in like a 10-minute period, and I don't have notifications on. I know you don't know what Discord is, EA, but everybody else does. And I don't have notifications on, so I just open it at my leisure, and I'm like, whoa! And one of the messages said, "Hey, Coach DC A22, you need to get your ass in here because it's happening." There was like I think it's Ron or Randy Paul or something like that, a politician who's like, "It's happening, it's happening." So,
yeah, the water broke. Yeah,
I didn't get to record that video because it was all that. At that point. So, do you want to share your screen with that touchdown for
oh
that
yeah.
Awuzie gave up?
Okay, sorry, I thought I was on there. Okay,
Maybe you are. Hold on.
maybe not. There we go.
No.
Should be good.
Gotcha. All right. So this is the one that puts them ahead, basically the game-winning score, right?
Yeah, it's another third down, 3rd and 10. We were Coach and I are talking about this coverage. I think this motion that we see right there, it's kind of a return shift kind of thing. Confuses and changes the call. You can see the conversation here between the safeties a little bit in regards to that. But again, it's like kind of a return shift.
That's Gilman in the middle of the field, right?
This is Gilman, yeah, middle of the field. And you can see this signal here. This almost looks like he's signaling Gilman over to the other side of the field. What I found.
Oh, wow. You mean that Starks may be trying to push him over?
Yep. Yeah. And you got trips to this side, what looks like man on 3rd and 10, like an off man to this side. Both outside corners are playing off. But what everyone notices is the double move that he really just gets burned on. I think it's interesting that this is just a bizarre alignment for the safety against the trip side. He's paying no attention. Here, we're thinking this is probably quarter, half. Is that what you think, Coach?
Yeah, but like that's a great point you just made. Like normally that backside safety is going to be looking to the trip side. He's going to be, looking for 3, especially if 3 is speed. And with that, some people don't know if 3 is a receiver, if the inside guy is a receiver, then you're definitely going to be looking there because you're looking for some type of, middle of the field climb concept, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I guess some people call it a post by number 3. But what you're saying is that the point you're making, and it's a good one, it's a really good one, is that he's completely oriented to the one receiver side.
Yeah, makes no sense. That to me speaks of confusion in the call. He's still stuck in some other call, or maybe doesn't even realize. Well, I shouldn't say he doesn't realize what's going on here in terms of the receiver splits and stuff. But he's still got his back to that side. And interestingly, you kind of see a zone look here underneath, but they let this seam run too, or
it's like we're sandwiching 2 routes. We're trying to leverage them outside in and inside out, right?
Right, and it's that may almost suggest to me that Roquan feels that Marlon's in man here. Like, I don't think they know the call either necessarily.
No, I agree, and I agree with you. There's obvious confusion. The one, if you can you pull it back to your second stop point? Yeah, right there. The one thing that it's confusing on multiple levels. At least this one, I'll try to explain. Normally, we want to present pre-snap that too high safety look so that we're not, quote, giving away the coverage to the quarterback. Part of that is, and we're actually going to talk about this here in a moment with the Simpson play, right, the one that I'm going to go over. Part of that is where your feet are defensively. So you're not leveraged too far one way or the other, which tells a smart quarterback, which Aaron Rodgers is. I don't care what people say. He played extremely well against us both games and knew what he was doing, where to attack. So if you think about Gilman, where he is right now, he's in the middle of the formation because the ball's on the left hash, right, as it's snapped.
Mm-hmm.
Can you pull it back a little bit?
Right. Yeah, right here. Yep.
Well, Now where is he? Ball's on the left hash. He's not into the boundary at all.
Yeah. To me, that's, to your point, the quarterback absolutely sees he's got man with no help.
He's like, I'm going back here. And if
And
there's any type of signal that they have that's quiet, subversive, sneaky, meaning it's not an obvious turn and look at the X receiver and make some hand signal like we've done before, right? This to me screams, hey, whatever the route was, whatever the concept was, let's take it up top, because we know it's an absolute one-on-one. Man, it's shocking to me that it's Awuzie that gave that up, because I feel like he's played so well, and for him to come back and play well in Baltimore, he had a horrible knee injury in 2022. Prior to that, he's one of the best coverage corners in the NFL, and so this is a tough ending for me for me, at least as a fan of his, to witness.
He's in it. Yeah, he's in his head. He wants off the field here, and he just gets burnt. Right? He's gonna come down and make a tackle on an out or whatever he thinks this is, or some kind of in breaking. Yeah, and he just gets burned. But
we're still, we're post snap, and Gilman still isn't over to the other side at all. So I think we've just given Rodgers. Normally we're trying, and the play that I'll show here in a minute, we're trying to be too. We're trying to disguise too much. Here we've disguised nothing.
And it may be that Awuzie feels he's on his own here. Like, in other words, he doesn't.
Right.
Really, he's got help underneath here. That's why I drew, I guess, the blue line, whatever that. Wait a minute. Yeah. With Ardarius, right? Ardarius theoretically is taking away that underneath window while at the same time not driving down on this route. He's got the flat. But theoretically, he's got, I think he's got the right call, where maybe you've got, and it's almost like Roquan realizes, like, there's a Tampa call on here initially. And then when he sees Marlon there, those two
we've got
kind of let him go.
We've got multiple levels of confusion, if you ask me. And then Awuzie falls down. He, making it a super easy throw for, Rodgers has already thrown it, but
he's
the margin for error for Rodgers here is large, because Awuzie fell down. If he doesn't fall down, there's a slightly smaller margin for error, but I think we're still going to give up the touchdown.
Yeah, to your point, what he's seeing pre-snap is that, or he's seeing that he's got one-on-one on the outside. Whether they had a double move called or not, I don't know. Like, that was something audible, perhaps. Like, here it is. Like, you can see what he's reading here in terms of the coverage is that there's no help. No help. And Jacoby's still. Jacoby. I keep calling him that. Gilman's moving.
Yeah, like,
and there's a signal there. Like,
over to the trips.
Yeah, what is going on? And then turns away. The motion, I think, really confuses the Ravens here.
And you've got
he changes he changes his call based on the motion, and then kind of like changes it back, I think. And you can see this does feel like at least a fold the way you would expect Tampa.
Yeah. Easy.
Yeah, it's brutal. That's brutal. Did anybody feel like that was not going to happen? Maybe not in that way, but did anybody think the Ravens were going to stop them on this drive? I didn't.
Good point. At that point in the game, the feeling that you have is that, they're going to score. From a probability standpoint, it is 3rd and 10. So whatever the chances of an offense converting 3rd and 10 are globally, in that moment for us, without Kyle Hamilton, with our pre-snap alignments are bad, in my opinion.
I'm sure you felt this way, Coach, like getting into the back end of with the offensive struggles through whatever it was, a quarter and a half or something. There came a point in the game where you thought, well, if Lamar Jackson doesn't play like a man out of his mind, they're going to lose. He's going to have to do that. And certainly that's what ended up happening. He had to. At a certain point, they were not going to do anything if they didn't just say, Lamar, go get it.
I'm sure your channel, I'm sure you've noticed and experienced the same dynamic in the last 2, 3, 4 years. A lot of comments come across, hey, Lamar has to do everything. Hey, Lamar has to save us. Lamar has to make up for these deficiencies on the roster. In some of the situations, the specific situations, I didn't like some of those comments. I didn't agree with them because, in the focused manner that we or I was talking about, whatever it was, right? Whatever it was related to. This game is pretty much what you just said.
Had to.
Which is
Had to. There wasn't any other way we're moving the football if he didn't become Lamar Jackson,
We got the 47-yarder by Henry to start the game. Horrible penalty called on Zay Flowers. Terrible. Henry, ran the ball well in the first half. I think like 12 carries, 88 yards, something like that. So he was all over it. They did a really nice job on defense, they being the Steelers, slowing him down in the third quarter. And then he don't get anything done in the fourth quarter, I don't think.
Yeah. And some of that was the pressure, of course, put on the offense because the defense was not getting off the field. I mean, I don't know what the possession count was, but it seemed like possessions were really limited once we got in that second half.
Here's their second half possessions. So they opened the third quarter, 12 plays, 67 yards, touchdown. It's obviously the one where Hamilton gets hurt, and I'm going to show the very next play here in a moment. We throw the interception. They get a field goal in 6 plays. We do force them to punt, but it's an 8-play drive, 8 plays, 26 yards punt. And then they go 8 plays, 60 yards, touchdown in 5 minutes to take a 20-17 lead. And then they go 6 plays, 65 yards, touchdown in 1 minute and 25 seconds to go up 26-24. So we got shredded in the second half.
Yeah.
Once again.
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to do this one. This is the first play when Hamilton and Gilman are off. And a key point for us, I think both of us, is that, there's a TV timeout here, and you're talking about, I think, 4 minutes where the coaches have an opportunity to coach up, 2 guys who weren't on the field on the snap before, Simpson and Ardarius, because Gilman and Hamilton were on. And it's a 3rd and 10. What bothers me, and I think you as well here, is that, we got trips once again. You've talked about, when we first started this project, you and I, you talked about trips coverages and us struggling with it. You've said that for months. We've got Roquan mugged up to the trip side, and then we've got Simpson on the back end. Now, Simpson does false step here, and so that loses him a little bit of leverage. But we're asking this guy on the other side of the midline to cover this vertical by Freiermuth. And I just think I think this is easy for Aaron Rodgers. I think this is easy for almost 100% of NFL quarterbacks. The throw and the space that's there. Now, the recognition in that moment, third quarter, you're down, Steelers down 10-3. They've been struggling on offense. They should have been 10-6, They should have taken the points at the end of the second quarter. I just think this is something that would be executed from this alignment, this differential, this deficit of leverage. I just think that's something that will be executed 98 times out of 100 by 98% of the quarterbacks in the NFL. Do you where are you with that? Because I don't think it's sound.
Yeah, this is really, really bad, given that they had to cart Hamilton off and take care of Gilman. And this is what they draw up coming out. And part of the thing that I notice, one of the things is that they're trying to do this disguise, and it's really not a disguise, where they line Simpson up over the backside. You're going to show a play in a little bit where they play basically the same coverage, and wherever the darn back shows up, that's where they line the linebacker. That's the side. So it's not a great disguise. They end up dropping 53, who in effect takes the back. Yep. I don't like that they didn't adjust and it dropped 41 and bring 32. In other words, we got 41 outside linebacker, and they stunt him through the A gap whilst bringing Marlin. That should have been, in my opinion, once they see this alignment, that should be Trenton blitzing that gap, 41 dropping. That there's a number of ways you can play this.
Exchange it.
Yeah, that's certainly one of them. I don't like where Marlin is. I think it's giving the blitz away. I don't understand that sort of wide look that he's got peering in the backfield. I
This
don't like
just screams right now. He's blitzing. Look at his stance. I mean,
yeah,
there's no.
he's
We get
supposed to
a
look like he's covering that tight end, you know?
we get a false step here by Simpson, which plays a role, and I'm sure some people will focus on it. Meaning his steps. He bucket steps with his right foot, and then steps underneath himself, obviously to plant with his right foot, and now drive in this direction. So if he didn't false step, he's going to be there a little bit sooner. It's still an unsound coverage. He's put at a leverage deficit of, I mean, look, the hashes are 18 feet, 6 inches apart in the NFL. If you're watching or listening, feel free to confirm that for me, but that's just going from memory. So if it's 18 feet, 6 inches, how far is Simpson from Freiermuth right now?
Yeah.
He's about the same, probably a little further. He's 20 feet. Maybe I estimated 7 yards, a little bit less than 7 yards. I might be wrong.
And you don't think Freiermuth feels that immediately? And Rodgers has about a split second, and he's gone right there.
Yeah, watch his head.
Yeah,
Freiermuth.
they see that. They suspect that before the ball's even snapped. And if you got to have Simpson doing that, if that's the call, you've got to get him on the move, even if it somehow blows the disguise. There's about 6 ways you could play this coverage that are better than this. I mean, you could get Marlin
60.
out on 2. You could bring Starks down on 3. It's third. Is it 3rd and 10?
3rd and 10.
Yeah, there's a ton of ways you could play that tight end that are better than this.
If you're false stepping here on this rep, of course, I think he just came in the game. I might be wrong. Maybe he was on the field the previous snap, but I don't believe so. If you're false stepping here in the game, you're false stepping in practice.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't false stepping in the game if you're not false stepping in practice for some of these reps. It is learned, practiced behavior by your body, whether it's your feet as a football player, whether it's your hands as a baseball player, your shot mechanism or rhythm and routine as a basketball guy. You recreate in the game what you do in practice. That was a huge conversion.
What's your opinion of the? What is your opinion, Coach, of the top of that screen pre-snap? In terms of how the safety in the corner, and just in terms of what it's showing the quarterback. I mean, they both kind of come down a little bit, right? Obviously, they're playing to allow possibly allow something underneath, but make the play. I mean, what is your opinion of what that shows the quarterback? I mean, there's a lot of space there that could be worked with by these receivers.
To your point, what you said earlier, and I'll do the end zone angle to kind of talk about it. For me, if we're going to do the blitz that we have to do, apparently we have to blitz the nickel here from trips. Apparently we have to do that. We don't have any other option on 3rd and 10, even though Kyle Hamilton and Alohi Gilman just went out of the game. We have to do this.
Yeah.
Then I'd like to see someone running inside out on the backside, inside hip, of the easiest throw, which is the shortest throw. So for me, I'd like to. I think you even said it a little while ago, is because I think he's long sticking all the way across.
Yeah.
So he's lined up in the C gap, or have this inside linebacker go underneath of that. We're just I know that part of it is related to, we have trouble getting pressure, so we got to do these things to try to create pressure. I'm fine with that evaluation. People want to make that point. They're not wrong. I just think that, we have no awareness of the formation and what coverage we are running. So it's like if you took Freiermuth and you lined Freiermuth up over here, we'd run the same blitz and we might be okay. But it's a zone blitz. It's a fire zone, in my opinion. And so the rules to me need to be adapted to trips if you're running a fire zone. That's at least what I was taught. And so Humphrey is blitzing, Draymond is blitzing, Roquan is just occupying so that one or both of those blitzers can be free. I don't think we've seen a quarterback this year who can't make that throw.
Yeah.
Maybe the situation, high pressure situation, win or go home, some quarterbacks might fold under that. I just feel like you're looking at 95, 98% of the quarterbacks in the NFL could make that throw. I think we made it rather easy for them to convert. And that's not your job as a coach. Your job is put guys in position to succeed. And I don't think this guy was put into position to succeed in that moment.
No. Yeah. To your point about the having to do a certain blitz or having to do a certain coverage, that's certainly the way it looks. No, it seems like nobody in the field, no one on the field is thinking about what, not personnel group, but what alignment, this 3-by-1. Nobody's thinking about that coming out of the huddle.
When we would teach formations initially, there would be a time period where you're talking to a 14-year-old, freshman or 13-year-old freshman, whatever, who's maybe never been taught anything about formations. Where do you stand as a result of where they're standing? It's that simple, And the analogy that we would make to some guys, and some guys got it and some people didn't, was you're in school and you're walking down the hallway and a person you don't like is walking towards you and they're in the middle of the hallway. Where do you want to stand? Well, it might depend on whether I want to fight today or not, because I might move to the middle and make him move. But if he's the toughest guy in the school, I'm going to move over to my side and I'm going to go about my business. Mm-hmm. And so we're talking about where your feet are. And where our feet are here do not give us the opportunity to defend that guy where his feet are. Simple as that.
Yeah.
I mean, no awareness at all. It's not being promoted. It's not being taught. No one is talking to these guys about recognizing formations at all. And stuff like this would happen next week against Houston. It would happen next year in 2026. It would continue to happen, and me and you be having the same conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the quarterback is clearly looking at this pre-snap and thinking, who's got 3? I can see who's got 1. I can see who's got 2. I can see the bottom of the screen. I can see the safeties. Who's got 3?
It reminds me, I'll let you do the play that you're going to talk about. You're going to do a couple of third downs, right?
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of this one against the Bengals, the game that we lost at home. It's a 3rd and 9. You get a stop here, hold them to a field goal. It's 22-14. We're still in the game. Touchdown and 2-point conversion. We could tie it. We have to play this coverage where we're asking Roquan. Let me get this off the screen here. We're asking Roquan, who's mugged up. At least he's on the same side. At least he's on the same side as a receiver. In the previous play that we just showed you, Simpson's feet are over here. And you're not talking about a receiver. This is Yoshivas, Iosivis, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So difference in speed, right, versus Freiermuth. But for me, this is the same concept. And you actually identified it first. It's the same concept as well, because we have to blitz the nickel. And I get it. You want to fool people. You want to trick people. And some of the other coaches that we all love, Mike McDonald, Brian Flores, they do this stuff as well. I think they build in safeguards so that your inside linebackers, Trenton Simpson, Sunday night, Roquan Smith here, aren't exposed to negative leverage situations like this. And to me, that ultimately is one of the things that would have held us back. Lamar could have been healthy all year long. Derrick Henry could have run for 2,000 yards. Great offensive line. I think we still probably win 11, 12, 13 football games under those parameters I just described. This right here would have held us back against Josh Allen, any of the top quarterbacks who make it out of the NFC. I don't think we're winning the Super Bowl with Zach Orr as a defensive coordinator if everything else in the building and on the field is perfect and pristine. Same concept for me.
Same concept. Yeah. Yeah. Roquan's lined to the side of the, I wonder if they would have called, if the back is over opposite to the opposite side, if Roquan's still going to run that same, probably.
Looks like him and Hamilton. I remember this
line up to the quarterbacks left, let's say, and he's going to chase that tight end out there as well.
Something that's interesting, I know we're post Steelers loss, post Harbaugh being fired, is the play we're talking about with Trenton Simpson and Freiermuth. Hamilton's not on the field, not just from an athleticism standpoint, a coverage standpoint, ability, but also communication and recognition. Didn't see any of this. Hamilton, Roquan, Starks, didn't see any of this at all on that play. Maybe Hamilton was the guy doing more of the communication than Roquan. It's entirely possible. Maybe he's the guy that understands things. I'm going to be honest with you. If that's the case, if we only have one guy on that defense who can recognize formations and adapt our coverage to the formation so that we don't get exposed, then the guys in the building can't teach defense. I'm not good enough to teach it, anywhere near that level, but I could teach that coverage so we don't get exposed to trips versus Aaron Rodgers on a 3rd and 10 when we've, got a chance to get off the field. At 10-3, chance to get off the field. What's wrong with giving up 7 or 8 yards and making them make a decision? Go ahead and go for it on 4th and 2, Mike. It didn't work out most of the time, for you so far up to that point. It bothers me, and I'm glad you're on the same page, because I know there'll be people in the comment section like, Trenton Simpson false stepped. He would be there in time. Bullshit. Zach Orr put the guys in those situations, and consistently, we have more examples than just these two. And that's, one of the reasons why he's unemployed today, him and Harbaugh.
Oh, did they actually announce he's gone? I mean, I'm sure he's gone, but did they announce it?
I mean, the whole staff. I mean, who's gonna?
Yeah.
What's someone? Hey, Clint Kubiak, you can get your first head coaching job, but you got to keep this guy. Oh, I'll stay in Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who do I want to call offensive plays opposite of Mike McDonald or Zach Orr?
Right.
Hey, Brian Flores, you're going to come in and run the defense, but that guy's your DC. Having said that, Orr gets let go. It wouldn't surprise me if he ends up in Seattle, because Mike McDonald calls the plays anyway.
Yeah. Yep. That's a good point. They're buds. He looks up to Mike, or Mike looks down to, they're buddies. So
yeah.
And Zach's he's a very good football player, grew up around the game. He just doesn't seem to have a feel for teaching an entire defense and calling. And there's nobody, we've said this the whole coverage, I think, this year. There's nobody making adjustments. I think that play that we just talked about exemplifies it as much as any other play. In a crucial time, no defense in the NFL, no playoff defense in the NFL is going to blow that 3rd and 10 in that way. There's just no way.
Look at all the things that are wrong. We didn't even talk about Ardarius is supposed to be post snap middle of the field in a 3 deep, 3 under structure, and he's end up hanging out on the backside, versus the first play you showed, Gilman is hanging out on the front side and giving away things. We're just leaky. And I think that's a result of coaching on the front end. Just had a conversation last night with the best coach that I've ever been around, and he took the blame for 2 situations. I mean, he said, look, I failed the whole group. I said, man, how many? They had a team run 2 kickoffs back for touchdowns against them in one game. Same kid. I said, why'd you kick to him the second time, man? And he, but we have that kind of relationship that we can needle each other. Yeah. And I said, hey, how many kickoffs ran back against you in your 20-year coaching career? And he said, 2.
One game, huh? Same game. Yep.
So, things happen. But, verbally to me said, hey, it's my fault. I didn't teach things well enough. It was my fault. And he said, I told the kids that after the game. And that to me kind of moves back to the Harbaugh issue. I never saw Harbaugh stand there like a Dan Campbell after a loss and say, this is my fault.
Mm-hmm.
You want to do these 3rd downs or no?
Sure.
I want you to. I just would.
Yeah. I don't know.
Ardarius and Roquan, right? It's going to involve them. Is that both times?
It is. Yeah. Let's see. This one for sure. Let's see. Clip 5.
Not 3rd down. Both 3rd downs, right?
This is 3rd down and 8. Again, this was like just all game coach. Just, I mean, all second half in particular, where you're just like, are we gonna make a stop? And then answering your own question, no, we're not. We're just not. You see kind of a mugged up third and 8.
So ball's on the right hash, so the X is into the boundary, and the running back Gainwell is into the boundary. The trips is to the field. I know that you know this, but everybody else listening, like if you don't know, trips is generally going to be to the field. You see trips to the boundary, you're like, the heck is wrong with that guy? Did he use the wrong sheet? Like trips are going to be to the field because that's where you got more space.
Everybody will remember this play, I think, just how easy it was made to look. This wide open. It was actually a ball thrown a little bit behind the receiver.
And MVS catches it 3 times, right?
Yep. Been nice to get a break there.
Drops it twice.
Even though the coverage is but really the idea here is you want somebody in this hook playing kind of that low hole rat player here. In my opinion is you can see Ardarius to this side of the field. Once the ball is snapped, again, just poor communication or assignment. Once the ball is snapped, you get 2 guys here covering the back. Not sure. I'm assuming that's probably Ardarius's job to get over in that hook zone, but maybe not. Maybe they're asking Ropon to get over there. I don't know. But if somebody's over there, you got somebody underneath this and in that
theoretically,
window.
right.
And it's a simple thing. It's a really simple thing.
We got 2 guys assigned. I don't think that this is the intention of the coverage. I think it's a mistake. We've got 2 guys assigned to Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah. And
one of which is Ardarius, who, we both agreed did not play well. But I'll say this, you were the first guy 3-4 years ago, however many, to talk about Ardarius Washington in a way that he could be productive and execute and get out there on the field and cover and tackle. And he proved that in 2024. This game to me does not reflect well for him at all.
No.
And we're both, upfront about that. I think he's a better player than we saw on Sunday night.
He is. They asked him, if we watch it real close, he's Kyle Hamilton. Once Kyle goes out, he's effectively Kyle. And he's not Kyle. He's being asked to be Kyle, and that doesn't have much to do with this particular play. He's just one of these 2 guys is on the wrong page in a major way.
Looks to me like man free, cover 1. And Ardarius is confused about whether he should drop down like you had there with those arrows to Gainwell, or he should work to the middle of the field. You call it the rat, and so many others do. I just call it the low hole dropper, but same concept.
Yeah.
Middle of the field, middle of the formation, 6 to 10 yards deep, looking for the first crosser, maybe the quarterback scrambling, etc. To do everyone else a favor who's listened this far, I'm not going to show the Aaron Rodgers scramble for 20 yards because it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
MVS on the in cut, and it's against Awuzie, right?
Yeah, it is. And it could be Awuzie's he's understanding that he's got help here, and Ardarius or whomever is not positionally where they ought to be. Right. As soon as we see the ball kind of snapped, or even before that, I don't know. I don't know about the alignment pre-snap. He's got a ways to go, which, suggests that he's in the wrong place to start with. But.
Right. Which, hey, Gilman on the game-winning touchdown that you showed, he's lined up to trips. We're either too far over to trips, or we're intentionally making it easy for Rodgers to figure that out, which he did. The quote double move to Calvin Austin. Simpson's alignment on the play that I showed is intentional. He's in the right spot for the way they've drawn it up on the board and on paper, but he's in the wrong spot for the way that it works out on the field. And that to me is what's difficult to understand. This is their full-time job.
Right.
They don't have to carve out 2 hours like you and I do on a Wednesday morning to do stuff like this. They get all day, all night, much time as they want. I'm not into that whole conversation. People on social media the last couple of days have been like, it ain't cool to be in your office all day and all night, studying film and creating practice plans. Hey, man, every situation isn't the same. Some places need that. Some people, some kids, some communities deserve that. because they've never won before. And so, everybody ain't Kurt Signetti, who apparently does 90-minute practices every day and gets people out of there quick. Find that hard to believe.
Yeah, interesting. Rodgers is thinking 3 here as well. It's third down. Yeah, he's looking at 3 there, and Starks comes down, takes that away. Nothing in this hole here. Just a good – I don't know, man. Just like whether he's reading just the perfect route, for the
yeah. It's earlier in the game. Think about this one as well as the touchdown you showed. So think about the progression. We showed them in the backwards order, but this one happened. It's something underneath on a 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10.
3rd and 8 here.
3rd and 8.
Yeah.
And Awuzie gives it up on the in cut to MVS. But then the game-winning touchdown, he kind of is a little more jumpy. He's a little more committed. So maybe plays like this, influenced him over the course of the game that he needed to come down.
In fact, I saw that. I saw a ton of in-breaking, out-breaking, pseudo, into underneath stuff rather than vertical through the game at Awuzie. And it, I guess give him credit, man, just having those great calls on.
Yeah, look, Rodgers has got veteran receivers there now, guys that know what they're doing. Earlier in the season, when I saw Steelers games, I saw him clearly frustrated with guys, DK Metcalf included, but he's going to keep giving DK opportunities. But I saw him clearly frustrated with guys, as in they weren't on the same page. Rodgers read or saw something, and those guys did not. Now they've got veteran receivers, MVS, Thielen. The little guy, Scotty Miller, man, he tore up the Detroit Lions in the 3rd or 4th quarter with, I think, a 4th down reception, a 3rd down conversion. So he's got guys getting in the right spot. I don't think it's going to work against the Houston Texans, but it did against us.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, you never know. But, yeah, I don't think so either.
They're in trouble trying to pass pro against that team.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the other one, and I'll be very critical of Roquan here.
This is
screen, right?
Okay. 2nd and 2, right? This is the little running back screen. He's got the back, right? That's Roquan's gig. 2nd and 2. The first thing I'll say is, why are we playing a 2nd and 2 coverage? If I advance just a little bit, there's your 1st down marker right there.
Boom. Yeah.
I don't get that.
And Rodgers did that twice in the game. Once was Thielen, and once was maybe MVS. Just snap the ball, throw it out there. People nowadays call it a smoke screen. The old days, we just called it a hitch.
So, yeah, this is the screen. Again, Ardarius is involved. Again, they're asking Ardarius, to my mind, to be Kyle. Kyle's basically playing – he's basically playing the Kyle Hamilton dime role here. Roquan gets absolutely annihilated here. It happens, but he's making a lot of money. Gets driven 15 yards down, 10, 12 yards down the field out of this play. So,
not committed at all. He will look back on that play if it ever occurs, if the opportunity, exists at some point in the future. He will look back on that play and do what a lot of us do in our life or athletic career, whatever profession, and he'll regret not being committed enough and not playing it. You got to play it to your teammate. Play it to your teammate. It's a 2-on-1 with a blocker on you and the ball carrier or a receiver, in this case, running back, Gainwell, catching the ball. And you got to play it back to your teammate. You don't do that by being soft. He's got to come downhill, come forward right now, and try to compress that, knock the shit out of the guy so that the next time he approaches him, next time he steps to him, he knows what's going to happen. I mean, he being Frazier. Frazier wins this rep, obviously.
Yeah.
By a long shot.
See a little bit of, I guess Ardarius is aligned here to the back. Right. To your point, he's just very just backpedaling. And then this is a tackle we're gonna see Kyle make. Ardarius should make it. He gets stiff armed.
Yeah. Nice play by Gainwell. I mean,
yeah, it's a good play. I mean, yeah, it's definitely a good play. Ardarius reads it a little late.
we're watching it in slow motion, and so people can say that it's easy to say this in hindsight. But Roquan at some point here, prior to this freeze frame where you are, has got to attack. He's got to attack and use his teammate. If they're banjo reading it, so it seems like, let's say Gainwell releases to his right, our right on the screen, like a bubble. Our Darius is going to go. Roquan probably going to sit in the middle of the field, is my guess. But here they're both reacting. Roquan's got to be way more committed. There's a real lack of awareness here for Roquan in my spatial awareness for me. There's a lack of that for Roquan right now, and a lack of physicality, but those things are all related.
Yeah. Kyle goes out of the game, and all of a sudden your defense is nothing. This guy, Roquan's the multi, big contract guy. Marlon's a big contract guy. There's no excuse for that. I don't care if it is Kyle Hamilton. And them running outside zone down our throat and moving the offense or the defensive line and getting into the linebackers all second half. Just a really good play call here, where it turns out it's this guy uncovered. And we get
Rodgers trusts Gainwell.
Yeah.
Clearly. And he should. I mean, the guy has made plays for them. I think Gainwell was named their MVP this year. Their team MVP.
He was. Yeah.
And he even, like, in an interview, I think before the Lions game, someone was asking Gainwell, like, what do you attribute this to? And he said, me and Aaron Rodgers are on the same page. And I was like, whoa. I mean, that's a pretty big endorsement. They're playing well. I don't think they've got a great chance against the Texans, but they're a tough football team. It's in Pittsburgh. It's on Monday night. Some Steelers fans messaged me. One emailed me and was like, hey, you think that we don't have a chance on a Monday night with Mike Tomlin as a coach in winter weather? Why don't you go look up his record on Monday nights at home in winter season, December, January, February. I did reply back. I said, thanks for, reaching out. I appreciate your feedback. I said, but I will tell you this, 2025 ain't 2011. It ain't 2014 or 2008, whatever other teams, he coached or was involved with. Good luck against Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter and those guys. Did you, I didn't anticipate them throwing the ball on us like that so consistently in the second half. Did you?
It didn't surprise me, given the previous or 2 weeks before against actually both weeks, New England, and Green Bay. I mean, Green Bay come out and light us up.
I guess the thing for me is in my brain somewhere there is this disconnect. There's this faulty conclusion that at some point we're going to stop doing some of these things that are not sound. And I don't mean, our Darius getting stiff-armed or, whatever. I mean, alignment of players where their feet are not matching up with what their post-snap responsibility is. That's your first job as a coach, is to put players in position to succeed. And, ultimately, Orr had too many occasions where he didn't do that. And, of course, we had times where our best guys, Marlon Humphrey, Roquan Smith, whoever, just don't make plays. Very unfortunate that Hamilton goes out. I hope he's okay. From the standpoint of Kyle Hamilton, I'm kind of glad that we don't have a football game next week because it was a confirmed concussion, right?
Oh, yeah. His head not only hit Gilman's, or they collided, but you see his head slam off the turf after.
So I'm glad he doesn't have to suit up because you can bet that if we were playing this week against the Texans, he's going to roll out there.
He's going to clear. Yeah.
And I'm glad he doesn't have to do that.
Right. What kind of changes personnel on the field changes do you anticipate letting guys go this year? Anybody that you would think
defense? Defense, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, since we acquired him, the guy that I do like is Draymond Jones.
Mm-hmm.
but it probably, someone brought this up in the Discord, Ravens Discord last evening, late. It's a great point. I think it was Jen, or I'm not sure. I try to give shout outs to usernames when I have the opportunity. What's the difference between like hiring a Flores versus a Robert Salah? Salah's going to, he wants those big defensive ends in 3-point stances, wide alignments. Sometimes they're in like almost a 4-point stance.
Mm-hmm.
We call it a 3.5. So that other hand, that second hand is maybe just grazing the top of the ground. So it's not 4-point stance, but it's close. And that's not Mike Green. That's not Draymond Jones. Those guys are OLBs, outside linebackers, in a 3-4 structure. But Tavius Robinson, I think, would fit well in a Salah system, the way that he plays them. So as far as like defensive side, I think talent-wise, Draymond Jones is what we need, a Draymond Jones. But we're sitting at 14. If David Bailey is there at 14, it's going to be kind of difficult for me to say that we should pass on him, even though I know we got offensive line needs that are severe.
He's Oregon, right? Or no?
No, that's the other guy whose name I can't pronounce yet.
Okay.
Bailey is 31 for Texas Tech. He is
Tech. Like, that's right. Yeah.
You watch him line up and move and everything during the play and afterwards and beforehand. He's like straight out of like 1988. There's no flashy stuff on his elbows, his wrists, or anything. It's just all basic attire. And I'm gonna get after you. He's an attacker, and I like his game. So I mean, he would be a guy for me that we're at 14, right? It's not 15, it's 14.
Yeah.
He would be a guy for me. I mean, I have gone out and said last night in my reaction video, and I've said it here, that I think we've got to allocate more resources to the offensive side. So part of that means guys like Humphrey and Roquan have to be looked at. I think we're at a real problem for inside linebacker with, Buchanan down for at least part of 2026. Simpson will be in year 4. Is that right?
Yeah.
The only functional guy we have right now, if we had to play Sunday, the only I say reliable, the only guy we have that we can go out there and we can trust on anything should be Roquan Smith. So if we get rid of him, well, we got to rebuild if Harbaugh was here, there is no way Harbaugh and EDC are going to rebuild the offensive line room and the inside linebacker position in one off season. I don't know that we're capable of that. Maybe the next guy that comes in, maybe he'll be able to.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think of that thought as far as inside linebacker goes?
Yeah. They've got the kid from Iowa, but it just depends on how they decide to play that position next year. But I agree with your point. They don't have much. They really don't. And there's some linebackers in this class, but I don't think I want to see us draft a linebacker early.
No, not early. We drafted one too early last draft.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think okay, so I think there's a guard I like. I think he goes to Penn State.
Of course.
I can't pronounce his name, but I like him. Yep. He's probably a top first round guy. I don't know whether 14 is too early or whether he'd move back. I don't know.
Last year, Gray Zabel is drafted at did the Seahawks take Gray Zabel at, was it 18?
18, 17, something like that. Yeah.
And the Cowboys took Booker at 16.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So let's do it this way, guys. If you get to 14 this year and David Bailey is there at 14, and for some reason a Gray Zabel or a Tyler Booker is there as well, you can't go wrong. No matter which guy you pick, you can't go wrong. Tyler Booker, Gray Zabel, I think prove that you can draft guards, early if you know that they can play, and both of those guys could and are,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, yeah, I thought you were just, focusing on defense. It's going to be tough, man, with the outside corner situation. Marlon's been here for so long, but we have an out on his deal.
Don't know. I'm thinking we do, just based on his comments after the game, which were somewhat off-putting, just very strange the way he he answered, but I think he gets the sense he's not back.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming we do based on that. I know 95 is up, right? He's been here 4 years, or does he have more?
You mean
Robinson.
I think he's got one more. No,
Oh,
we
he
got
does.
we got Marlon here for 2026, but a cap hit of 26 million.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
number sounds crazy to poor folks like us, but you know, at that level with a huge salary cap, there's going to be some teams that pay that kind of money, obviously, for a corner / nickel or whatever. It looks like we got the void years set up for 27, 28, 29 for Marlon, but it looks like he's a cut candidate according to the website that I'm seeing. So, you know, maybe I do think we need to save money somewhere. I'm not sure that I would completely advocate for Humphrey and Roquan to be gone, even though both of their salaries clearly look like it'd be a great opportunity for us to improve somewhere. And I've gone on record as saying we got to allocate more resources to the offense. So I won't complain if both of those things occur. I won't, but we better have a serious way of trying to replace the inside linebacker spot.
Yeah, it does look like a draft where there are some tackles and some guys that are playing tackle that could move inside in the second and third rounds. That's a little bit unusual, but it looks like it's at least numbers wise a lot of offensive line available. But either in the off season targeting a guard or drafting one early. That's got to be the priority. I'm like you, Coach, man. I'd love to see them just get some animal on defense, you know. But you know, it's really the biggest hole. Clearly, are the the pass rush and this offensive line. But
if we had a Max Crosby, a Danielle Hunter, who's one of the most underrated guys in maybe all of professional sports, but definitely the NFL. I don't think Danielle Hunter has ever made a All-Pro team. I think he maybe has one Pro Bowl. It may not be any. And go look at his stats; they are ridiculous.
Yeah.
For him, so a Danielle Hunter, and the reason why I mentioned guys like him and Crosby is they generate. They do get a lot of sacks, but they also generate a lot of pressure consistently from one guy. We certainly would be a different defense if we had that one guy who could get pressure often. Draymond is just he's not on those guys' level, clearly. Green's going to develop. I think it'll be interesting to see who we bring in, because that could impact who sticks around. So, like, for example, let's just say under some scenario that the guy who coached DBs here in Baltimore and then went to Tennessee and ran the defense, I forget his name now, it's a really good coach, was to come here. Well, Draymond's got experience with him, obviously in his system in Tennessee. Conversely, Brian Flores, he's in New England when Kyle Van Noy is there. Right. So, if he squeezes one more year out of Van Noy, who didn't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, but he did a lot of things dropping out against the run that, I wouldn't mind if Van Noy came back with the understanding that, like, hey, in the hierarchy here, Kyle, you're number 4. But we recognize your versatility, your ability to step in. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I'm a huge Kyle Noy fan, but at this point, we've got to. I think we need the younger guys to play more. I think that's pretty obvious.
I'm not clever enough to figure out the scheme difference, but I have to believe a different scheme gets Mike Green, and a second year gets Mike Green some more pressure, along with the other guys. I mean, we saw Oweh. What did he end up with? 12 games?
7, 8 sacks out there, something like that?
In 12 games, So he's not the pass rusher that Mike Green is. And that's curious to me,
Agreed. Well, this was probably long and meandering for the people who sat through it. I really appreciate anyone who did today. EA and I didn't know what we were going to do in 2025 with this. So hopefully we can make it better next season. We do intend, I think we do, you can confirm or deny, to do stuff in the off season like this, right?
Yeah, let's get in on some draft stuff too.
100%.
Yeah.
I've already started. I started cutting draft film. You may know. I think I started cutting draft film in week 7 because I was like, not for the Lions, but for the Ravens. I was like, all right, I think we know how this is going to end. We just need to fill in the details. What's the last 2 words going to be before the period at the end of this sentence for 2025? And now we've got an exclamation point, right? We got rid of Harbaugh, and now maybe a question mark too, because we don't know who the next head coach is going to be. I'm not going to go into who I want necessarily. I just want someone that's got the ability to lead the room in a way that I don't think we've been led here in the past 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, maybe even longer than that.
Bisciotti will find somebody who has a direction, clear, authoritative direction. That's what he's after, I think, and that's what we need.
Do you want to, or do you agree with my little theory that the reason why it happened Tuesday night around 6 o'clock, somewhere around there, 5:30? Yeah. Do you agree with my assertion that it probably was the result of Harbaugh not acquiescing to certain demands by Bisciotti, which is, that's the story. I just don't think I think they got the right story, but I think they got the details wrong.
Gosh, that's hard to say. I definitely don't agree with the story as it sits, that it was Monken. Maybe that's to protect Monken going out and getting a new job, or like you said, Harbaugh. And I don't think it's any one thing. I think it's like 10 things, and it was time. And it's like, if they ran it back with Harbaugh, what are you going to do? Fire him next year? I mean, the ship has sailed at this point, and it was time. And that's the businessman. That's Bisciotti. Even if it's maybe a year too late, if he would have waited another year, that's a bigger problem.
Maybe it's poor folks mentality, but the part of me with some of these coaches, who's the guy? He got fired last year. I can't remember who it was. He got fired last year, but he still had like 2 years left on his deal, and the number's obscene. It's like like $13 million a year or something.
Well, Harbaugh's getting paid for 3 more, isn't he? Is that right?
Yeah, 3 more years. Yeah,
and he was the highest. I think he was the highest paid coach in the NFL.
Yeah, and 18. I think 18 million. Makes there's a part of me that's like, hey man, you let me go and I'm getting 18 million a year. I do not need to jump into another job immediately. I am comfortable.
I'm on the beach. I'm on the beach in about 2 days.
Yeah, I can still watch. They got internet down there. I can watch film still.
Oh yeah, you can get that just about anywhere these days.
Well, man, EA, thank you for. I don't even know whose idea this was initially, mine or yours, but thanks for.
Oh, it's a blast, man. It's always a blast. I'm so glad about it, and we'll do more for sure.
We didn't get to. I don't think we got to 2 other aspects of what we wanted to cover here this season. I'll do this. If there's anyone else that wants to be involved from a data standpoint, because that's the part that me personally I feel like we're missing. I'd like to have some data that remember you and I tracked all the coverages from 2024.
Yeah,
I think we only had like 240 coverages tracked and completely in. It would be nice to have some data on some of this stuff.
Yeah, and that was really extensive stuff. Down and distance, hash marker, everything.
Yeah. When I was coaching in high school, I remember people would attribute certain levels of preparation to me, and I would often remind people, say, "Hey, look, the guys who played for me last year that I trusted as seniors, that are maybe they're working or maybe they're in college, I pay them $50 a week now to go enter data for me. So when I get to week 6, whoever we're playing." I get to week 6, I don't have to sit down and enter the data for weeks 1 through 5 for that team. It's already done for me.
Yeah.
And so that allows you to access the data. So I'm not in a position to do that for anybody, but if there's anybody who likes data and wants to look at coverages and be involved in any degree, that'd be great. I have two people for the Lions that are in my Lions Discord that want to create something like this next year, and I'm amendable. I'm open to it, but time is just a huge factor for me.
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
well,
No
thank you
doubt.
for your time.
Yes, sir.
Again, man. I appreciate it, guys. If you joined in, you can be as blunt and open as possible about ways that we can improve the product here. We went through, I think, 17 of these, right? We missed the 1 week for Christmas.
Christmas, I think we missed. Yep.
Yeah, and we certainly want to take advantage of the graphical improvements that were available to us. If we can get that off the ground in the off season, that should make things look a whole lot better for you guys as listeners and watchers. So thank you guys extremely if you sat through all of this for this loss against the Steelers, but also, for the whole season. So I appreciate you guys' time, man. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this Inside the Coverage, the last one officially for 2025, at least from a game response standpoint, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach. Appreciate you guys' time.